The fact that it is said that
This meeting is being recorded.
Abraham himself gave offerings to the king of Salem, Melchizedek, king of righteousness, we know there's only one place righteousness originates from, because the word righteous, Sedek, is the same word for justice, and justification through judgment is also the word used for righteousness. So when one is justified, one has been made righteous. When one is clothed with righteousness, he's clothed with justification from the Most High. So, with an understanding of this, if this fellow is called the king of righteousness, then he has been justified by the Most High's judgment in place. Okay? Just in the beginning of a backdrop here. Okay? Now, with him being called king of righteousness, what else would he have been called? For Abram to voluntarily give offerings to him,
He would have been a firstborn, of course.
which would have made him a Kohen after the firstborn, a priest after the firstborn.
Yes.
Okay? This paved the way for later on, as we find out in the Brit Hadashah, Renewed Covenant, the New Testament, that Yeshua had been made a Kohen Hagadol after the order of the righteous king, Melchizedek.
Okay.
Okay, with Yeshua himself being a firstborn. So, if Yeshua is made the Kohen Hagadol, the high priest, that still does not eliminate the Kohen after the firstborn, the Melchizedek. The firstborn where it's mentioned that tithes and offerings are given to him. It's also interesting in the ongoing relationship between Abraham, and the Most High, whereas it is his heart is stirred to not accept a portion of what is given to Melchizedek. He says, I will receive from the Most High rather than a man. So even a Cohen after the firstborn, the Melchizedek, king of righteousness, even he, Abram, chose to only receive from the Most High. This set a precedent that has not gone away yet, that we should receive firstly, primarily from the Most High and from his directions, rather than from men. So when we have to make a choice, we receive first from the Most High, whatever way he chooses to give, before we receive anything from men. That is considered a boon for us. Okay, however, as we learn here in this parashat, we find that the onus is on us for us to keep this in remembrance as a precedent, that even as we seek him first, that we should receive from him first. This set a precedent that to this day has not gone away, though it is very seldom honored anymore. Now, keeping this in mind, there's a couple of us that have a dual identity. Not only am I born of the tribe of Levi and inherited the birthright of being a Cohen, one of the sons of Aharon, by genealogy, I'm also a firstborn. Now, keep something in mind. If you are walking in Torah and you are Torah observant, as best as you can be to the full knowledge of what has been revealed to you by the Most High, of everything that you should be observing within Torah as He gives you to do. Okay? If you are a firstborn, you have the added requirement as a priest of the firstborn, a covenant of the firstborn, to follow all that is there that we've been taught in Torah, that is a responsibility and accountability of the firstborn. And I'll give you an idea about that. It isn't a multifold. There are between 5 to 7 major areas that govern the firstborn. We're not going to get into that today. Being a priest of the firstborn is only one of those areas. Okay? When a priest of the firstborn, the elder of his family or clan as a firstborn, okay, is required to be the judge of his family or clan, okay, he has to use the same Torah that he lives by in order to settle disputes and bring things to terms for everybody in his family and clan. As we start with family and it goes to extended family, and then we have clans, then we have tribes, then we have a nation of our people. Okay? So there is nothing that has ever changed one of the major directions in Torah observance for us to remain tribal. Being tribal, we would be patriotic rather than matriotic. Okay? Did I say that right? I think so.
Yeah.
Now, as we continue along this line, this is just the beginning of what we can get from this week's parashah study. Okay? Now, there is something here that a lot of people make a lot of fuss about. Okay? Whether it's a typo area or something there on purpose, I'm going to let you simmer about it for a little bit. When Abraham went with all of his servants and they met an enemy that had robbed, pillaged, and burned, and he got Lot back, here, even in the crown, it says that he got his brother Lot back rather than nephew. Now, it makes for an interesting study, and I'm not going to spoil that study right this moment. Okay, so was it a typo, or was there something there meant by that? For him calling him his brother instead of his nephew? Because there are many Bibles translated in the languages where they try to correct it as a typo, and yet it does say that. And if it says it on purpose like that, then what perhaps could be the premise? What could have been the rationale or reason behind it? And what was being taught in that difference? You'll be surprised at the simpleness of it. Okay. Now, we also have the obviousness of the Peshat and the hint that the name changes are there. But here we have something being introduced. By the simpleness of a name change, even with the Most High giving the reason for the name change, we have it being introduced that it is the names that the Most High chooses for us and the names that He knows us by.
Sorry.
That makes the people's names and the naming of places the Most High's domain, especially whenever He stirs a heart to name a place. Here it is the Most High renaming Abram and Sarai. And yet today people like to say, what's the difference in a name? Why is it so important in a name? Here, the Most High demonstrates himself, the importance of a name. He changes Abram's name, he changes Sarah's name. Who is going to dispute with the Most High for a name that he chooses for somebody? Everybody disputes several names today. And this is not the time or the moment to go into all that. I'm presenting this because it is the Most High making the name change of this prophet, his first prophet, and his wife, the prophet's wife. We know he's a prophet because he told one of the kings, "This man is my prophet." So all this and much more are embedded and imprinted within this week's parashah study. Okay. Now we also have the ever infamous story of Abraham telling his wife, "Tell them that you're my sister so that I might live." So I'm going to bring this up just for grins and giggles so that you can have something to stir about. Okay. At this time, he already had a relationship with the Most High. The Most High had already told him to get up and get out of his country and go where the Most High would guide him and lead him and let him know he would be there with him. And yet Abraham decided he had to protect his own life, supposedly, by telling him he was his sister. He told the truth. She was his half sister. He did not lie. By omission, he just didn't tell the rest of the story. Paul Harvey would have got a kick out of that one. Okay. Now consider if the Most High did not reprimand him for doing this. Okay. So now I'm going to say something that's going to be very unpopular with a lot of people, and they're going to get upset about it if they listen to this teaching. From ancient times, it was a part of hospitality laws for a man to tell his wife to go to the bed of the guest to keep them warm overnight. It was not something nobody blinked an eye about or got upset about. It was done commonly. Okay. In the Middle East, nobody got upset about anything. Now, it was the Most High who stirred the king's heart and said, "Send her back." Now, when he left his own country at the Most High's command, he already took with him his wealth, his flocks, his herds, his wife, and his nephew Lot. So it wasn't like he was a poor man, because do you think the Pharaoh, the king's emissaries in Egypt, would come out to meet him if it was just him and a few sheep? So they see a man who is regarded as wealthy with all of his flocks and all of his herds and all of his slaves, with his wife and family. And so whenever he receives his wife back, now consider this is probably not something that happened in 6 to 12 hours or a day or two. This probably happened over a period of months, considering their transportation issues, no technology, no cell phones, no social media. Okay. They were communicating face to face with everything. They didn't have any other alternative means of communication. And the Most High was speaking to people's hearts. So when he received his half sister, his wife back, They also received from Pharaoh something else: additional wealth, additional flocks and herds, additional slaves, slaves for him, slaves for Sarah, slavery herself, okay, slaves for Lot, okay. So that they added to the wealth of Abram. We don't have it quantified because scripture does not let us know in any quantifying way how much was there, what premise did that present, okay, and what was going to happen after that, and the coexistence that was required because of the way the Most High had revealed himself to the king, the Pharaoh, and spoken to him. And this is the part that becomes extremely important to us is first, the Most High reveals himself to Abram, tells him to get up and leave his country. Then with this first king who has taken Sarah to be his wife, okay, the Most High reveals himself to him and speaks to him. Now, the question is, at this point, why would Abram listen to this voice, this disembodied voice, to where he would obey this voice to get up and leave his country? And why would this king, who already worshiped different deities, bother to listen to the Most High's instruction? What was presented for either one of them to listen to Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, Elyon, the Most High? What would have presented? What was the differentiating area? Why did Abram or the king bother to listen to this voice? What was presented for that to happen? This is where it gets interesting because this is built into the background and nobody really takes a look at it too much. There is something there about the Most High that is always there with him. And we study it in different studies now today, but we don't really associate it with this time frame or of it being an activity. And that is his Kodesh, his set apartness, his holiness. With his presence, what comes out before his presence at every time, at every moment, at every communication, his Kodesh. And because he is spirit and his spirit comes out from him, showing there is no dividing that spirit because it's always connected to him in some way that defies human beings in their intellect and their intellectuality. Now, that set apartness as a part of him revealing himself, that set apartness, that holiness, that Kodesh that preceded him, even as it did with the burning bush with Moshe, take your shoes off, your sandals off. You were on Kodesh ground. You're on set apart ground. You're on holy ground. We know from everything that we have as an example in Torah and the prophets and other ways that when he reveals himself, some part of himself, his set apartness, his holiness goes first. It prepares his way. It goes out before him. That is what gets people's attention. The Kodesh, the set apartness, the holiness is not just an apparition. The bush is burning. The bush is talking out of the fire. Something's talking out of the fire. It's Kodesh because even the ground is Kodesh. Even the ground is holy. It had to be his set apartness, his Kodesh, that was present when he revealed himself to Abram. Get up and get out of this country and go where I'm going to lead you. And to the king, I am Yodhewahe. This man is my prophet. Return his wife to him. That king, that Pharaoh had to be feeling and having even the Kodesh, the set apartness, the holiness revealed to him. So as the voice would speak, it would speak with that set apartness, with that Kodesh, that holiness. So there had to be some fruit of the Spirit with it that identified with him and identified the Most High in what was revealed. Even when Moshe came off the mountain and all the other people of Israel seeing him, and they couldn't see his face because it was shining, they say, oh no, cover your face. They didn't say put a veil on. They said cover your face and talk to us. When you go, you let them talk to you and you talk to us because we don't want to deal with this. They were feeling that set apartness. It wasn't just absentee light as the morning sun. It was a set apartness that caused them such reverence and terror at the same time and fear. And this is one of the first areas we have this presented to us. Even after he received his wife back, there is never a mention anywhere in Scripture that the Most High disciplined Abram for giving his wife, even as his half-sister, to the king, to the Pharaoh, and or receiving her back in good standing. Now, I don't teach this subject publicly normally, but you need to understand the Most High is the one that makes his choices, no one else. The Most High is the one that sends his word out and have it returned, fulfilled, and accomplished, no one else. The Most High is the one who teaches. It is the Most High who gave us Torah. It is the Most High who has provided his order in things here. It is the Most High who presented things the way that he did here and set the precedence the way that he did. Now, we know the Most High will make changes, and we have examples such as when it came to inheritance and the daughters came to Moshe and said, we have no brothers to receive inheritance. Please go to the Most High. We don't want to lose our inheritance. And that was when he went to the Most High, and the Most High made a ruling. It was okay for those sisters to receive the inheritance in the absence of having brothers. So we know that there can be a change. When Torah was presented, because they didn't want any more confusion in property rights or inheritance rights, the Most High put an end to marriage with near kin. And he said, no longer will you be able to marry within the extended family or close family. But if you notice, where he did not make a change, there is no change. They already had the priest of the firstborn, yet and still bringing us in the Exodus out, he decided to name from the tribe of Levi, Aharon as the first high priest, Kohen Hagadol, with the presentation of Torah and the revealing and presentation of the tabernacle, being a shadow of what was already on high. So I'm letting you see what was revealed here in this week's parashah study, we still have evidence of today. Abram was already accustomed to giving offering, giving tithe. Not just agriculturally, but from all that he had. He was also familiar with the idea that if it wasn't a business transaction, the only one he wanted to receive from was the Most High. And he was the first one that the Most High actually made a covenant with, made a brit with. Okay? Before Abram, he did not make covenant with the first man. He did not make covenant with the first man's offspring after they left Gan Eden. He did not make a covenant saying, I will be your Elohim and you will be my people. He did not do that with Noah or his sons, but he began that with Abram. This was even after Torah, Noah's descendants. Okay? So I'm presenting it this way so that you might take a look at how what is presented here still has bearing and precedent and is still ongoing today. The laws of hospitality are still interwoven in our lives even today. In the Middle East, if somebody comes to your house, you still give them a way to wash their hands and face and wash their feet. You still give them a way to refresh themselves. You still offer them something to drink and something to eat. You offer them a place to stay to refresh themselves overnight, as the case may be. These are all part of the laws of hospitality. You've read it for yourself in different studies already. This is not anything new that I'm presenting. It's just that it's become uncommon and discontinued with Western culture outside of our culture. Now, because I grew up with a lot of these things, one of the things that I very seldom do is invite somebody into my home. If a salesman or a policeman or anybody else comes up, I will step outside my domicile to speak with them. They don't get invited in. And this is common with me and many others. That's because if I don't know them, the Most High has not revealed that He trusts them or He brought them there, then I have to handle it in a very secular way, which means they don't merit any hospitality. They don't come in to receive any of that. If we were in ancient times where I had an estate and I had land, then I would meet them where?
Off land.
I would meet them at the post, beginning where the estate begins. Because since we have received Torah, the edge of our estate, the gate, the post, that's where Torah begins for us. And today we have something called a mezuzah. And what does mezuzah actually mean?
Doorpost.
Doorpost. If not doorpost, then a gatepost. The beginning of our domicile where Torah resides. So, in this week's parashah, we have a lot that where he sets a precedent for us. There's also the precedents on how we deal with the bosses. Is it the mayor? Is it the governor, the president, the prime minister, the king, the Pharaoh, the emperor, whoever it might be, we have been presented with a precedence of how we will deal with them representing our family, our clan, our tribe, our people. Okay? And we are presented with a precedent to where if somebody brings that violence of war and robbing and pillaging and burning to us, how the Most High is going to ensure that we have the ways and means to address that. Whether he's going to go take care of it or he's with us and going out before us as he sends us to take care of it. Both are prominently displayed. So there's a lot in this week's parashah, that just a lot of areas of study that we can find sprinkled in all throughout Scripture. Now, the reason it's so important to understand about how the Most High reveals himself and how he uses his set apartness, his part of his spirit that goes out before him, prepares his own way, and however he's going to reveal himself anywhere within his creation and to whomever or whatever he's doing, lets us see that his set apartness through us, that he sets upon us and within us, always has purpose. When he makes us his own, he gives us his Kodesh. He gives us something else. He puts a sign on us for keeping his Shabbats the way he wants them. And he gave the sons of Aharon the Breked Kohanim, a blessing that once they say it over a person or a group, that the Most High puts his name on them and blesses them. This is the basis of whenever the sons of Aharon receive anything, an offering, that we do atonement and we give a blessing from him through us to the person giving the offering. Now, if that person belongs to him, that is also a reaffirmation of him putting his name on that person, member of his family, that he's chosen to belong to him. Okay? Now, in this week's parashah, it's interesting. Abram gave his brother Lot, his nephew Lot, a choice. Because our flocks and herds have grown so huge, we need to part to keep the peace among our own people. So choose which area that you would like to live in. So Lot chose the plains, of course. Now, Abraham chose the choice that was left. Now, does that make any sense? He chose the choice that was left. He didn't say to Lot, well, you chose down there, so see you later, buddy. I'm going someplace else. I'm going to go make me an altar, and I'm going to inquire of him and see where he's going to send me. Since you chose to go over there where they got plenty of water and plenty of grazing, and you made that choice without thinking about me, I'm going to go off on my own here. So that's it for us, buddy boy. There was nothing like that there. So the Most High, in turn, still with Abram, increased him from where he was. The Most High gave no indication he was giving him any more marching orders saying, okay, leave Lot behind. He made his choice. silly boy. I'm going to tell you where to go now. That didn't happen either. So we still have an unfolding story that will yield a great deal of instruction to us. Now, the main premise here is how the Most High revealed himself to Abram, as well as that king, the set of partners that he had to reveal him with, in order to get the ones he's talking to respond to him in humble, loving, peaceful, joyful obedience. That hasn't changed even today. So when we ask for more of his Ruach HaKodesh, why do we think we call it set apart spirit, Holy Spirit? Why do we call it set apart breath, holy breath? Why would we even do that? Why does it say that? Ruach HaKodesh. Why would it even do that? Except it be by some necessity. If his spirit, meaning him, is always set apart, always Kodesh, regardless of the degree of it or the portion of it or the depth of it, rather than look at all those, portion is the only thing given in scripture for people to look at portion or a double portion or more. We're still thinking of the portion. One of the things we're not looking at is the substance of it. What was there within the portion? What was there with the Kodesh, the holiness itself? What was the substance of it to where even another portion might be needed to give or another portion given at another time? Okay, we need to look more at the substance of that set apartness. Number one, it identifies us as belonging to him. Even though that would identify us to mortal men, that would only identify us to mortal men if he reveals it to them with the set apartness that he gives us. Okay? Now, what if people don't see it? He means he hasn't revealed it. Because the only way we receive things from him, the only way we see things from him, is if he chooses to reveal it. As he reveals of his spirit, he has to provide a venue for that. That venue is the fruits of the Spirit, any of them and all of them, any combination thereof. Now consider, even when Abram said, well, this is my sister, well, let us take her to Pharaoh and talk her up because she's so beautiful. You think it was only his wealth or the set apartness the Most High had given him that those representing the king, the Pharaoh, saw and felt? So we might be able to ascertain, to understand even now, as he would reveal himself to each one of us, even within the study, and say, okay, Elyon, the Most High, what will you reveal to me? What's in this lesson for me, from you, for me to have based on what's being taught? What are you giving to me and revealing to me to enrich me, to make me better, to make me a better servant to you, and to extend your purposes to an even greater degree in my life for it to use, for using me to fulfill your purposes? Now consider, it's been here the whole time. Being here the whole time, what do we have to look at? It's just being revealed to us. being revealed to us, he has purpose in that. Now, consider something. People had no problem in study in seeing the difference in Abram's name where it's changed to Abraham, and the difference in Sarah's name and it's changed to Sarah. But they don't want to talk about how important those names are in others and other situations and other people. I had talked to a pastor earlier this week, and when he's around me, he'll take the time, as he says, to be polite and speak of the Most High salvation, Yeshua. But then when he says, when he's not with me, he reverts to what he was taught from a child. Now consider, did the Most High offer Abram salvation? The word Yeshua is not there. However, when he heeded the words and obeyed the Most High, what did he become for Abram? When Abram took all that he had, all of his wealth, and got up and got out of his country, what did the Most High become to him? He became salvation to him by virtue of following him and trusting him. So the Most High became his salvation, his Yeshua, or in Aramaic, his Yeshua. So how important is the set apartness that he would give to us in revealing himself to us, and how he reinforces that set apartness, that Kodesh, every time he speaks to the heart, every time he reveals anything to us on an ongoing basis. Anybody have any ideas? So as we can see, from the time of Abraham, from the time of Abram, we have the premise being there of the Most High revealing himself, giving a set apartness, and through revealing himself, the presence and activity of the Spirit was there without it ever being spoken of, because we know the Most High is Spirit. Any questions or comments thus far? John, if you're talking, I can't hear you.
Tell him he's on mute.
I say Maria and I feel honored that you invited us into your home a couple of times.
Well, that's because you belong to the Most High. Rightfully, you can thank him, but you're welcome. I primarily don't want to take a chance of losing the partners the Most High has extended to me in my life, in my house, by letting people that don't belong to him, people who are not righteous, people who do not seek him, and people who are unclean, and pagans and idolaters, they're not welcome in my house or my life.
we do feel honored that we were worthy to come in.
Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you. Patrick, any comments or anything?
Not as of right now. Just,
So are you enjoying what the Most High is revealing to you right now?
huh?
Are you enjoying what the Most High is revealing to your heart right now?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. How about you, Hannah?
And one of the things that when you just said that how Yeshua was revealed to Abram, it made me think about, it says, you becoming a Torah unto yourself, and it was because of the obedience, his joyful obedience to do what the Father said. Like you said,
Well,
by his set apartness.
and what you're saying, please understand, I'm not speaking of the person, human being, Yeshua. I'm
Mm-hmm.
speaking of Yeshua, his salvation.
Mm-hmm. Go Alenu. Yeah, the Redeemer.
Okay, just to be
Yeah.
clear.
Yep. Yep.
That
That's what I was
doesn't
thinking
change
of the
the
word.
intent of your comment at all.
Yep. The set apartness, always true, always redeeming. That's what I was thinking of. The Go Alenu.
Yes, go ahead with that.
That was it.
Okay, that was the next point we were going to get to.
Oh, okay.
Because we have studied to learn that his spirit, his breath, his ruach, is always set apart, always Kodesh, always holy, always true, and always redeeming. When he reveals himself, when he speaks to our heart, when we feel that presence of his spirit, his fruit of the spirit, what is being given, what is being presented, bestowed with us. The presence and activity of spirit cannot do anything of itself but what is commanded. So therefore, whenever it is there with its presence, part of its activity is to do what? To set us apart so that we can receive from it. Setting
Being
us apart,
Kodesh.
making us Kodesh, inside first and then outside, and then making us in such a way as everybody likes to call it sanctified. Being sanctified through that set apartness also means he's going to make the inside of us tehor, clean, and then maybe the outside. When that's accomplished, then, depending on the fruits of the Spirit needed for what follows, whatever is going to follow is able to be there and fulfill his purposes. Now, everybody with me thus far? Instead of thinking of his set apartness, his Kodesh, as levels or degrees or portions, think of the substance of it. Okay? When he set several different people apart, and when he gave the blueprint for the Mishkan, the tabernacle, he also set his spirit upon different ones so that they gave them through the what he set them apart to, as he set a portion of his spirit upon them. He gave them skills and skill sets to actually build and raise the tabernacle, the Mishkan. So it was the substance of setting his spirit upon them, the substance of what he gave them, that made setting his spirit upon them necessary. He didn't send a spirit upon them, and all of a sudden they stood there and they go, I've been set apart. Look at me. It was for them to be put to work, exercise those skill sets, the substance of that portion that they had been given of his spirit, so that they could build and raise up that Mishkan, that tabernacle in that moment. Now, there is a real need to understand that once he sets us apart, once he makes us Kodesh with him, he will increase it again with the substance of it based on the fruits of the Spirit that he works and uses through our lives to others and to situations and circumstances, and it continues to grow in substance. The set apartness itself doesn't grow, but the substance of that set apartness continues to grow because the love has to mature. The joy has to grow and mature. The mercy has to grow and mature. The compassion has to grow and mature. The gratitude, all of it has to continue to grow and mature. So while the Kodesh is there, the substance of it is growing and maturing, that it might grow and mature us as well. I cover this over and over from different angles, from different approaches, just to continue helping, to try to help you understand the necessity for submitting ourselves so that the substance of that Kodesh can be worked within us by his hand and continue. The more that we submit to it working through us, the more we become Kodesh. Any comments, Michael?
Sounds good to me.
Now, something else I want to make mention in relationship to the parashah with the set apartness is the first priesthood that we had present was the priest of the firstborn. Okay. Now, this priesthood, as they would call it, Melech Sedek, king of righteousness, as it says of Yeshua, being made the high priest, Kohen HaGadol, of the king of righteousness. Who would be considered the king of righteousness? If Yeshua is the high priest of the king of righteousness. Feel like I'm a clock on a talk show host wall or a game show. No answers?
Peter? Peter,
Yahweh.
Say again? Couldn't hear you.
Peter,
What about him?
if Yeshua was not the priest of the Most High,
He was the high priest of the king of righteousness.
right?
So the question was, if Yeshua is the high priest of the king of righteousness, Who's the king?
Oh, who's the king?
I think it was Nicole that said, Yod Hey Wahe, Yahweh, may he be blessed.
Well, Yeshua kind of gave it away when he started his public teaching. I came to say the things he told me to say. I came to do the things he told me to do.
Most High, obviously.
Yes, Elyon. It's one of those questions like, when was the War of 1812 fought? Okay. So if Yeshua is the Kohen HaGadol, the high priest of the King of Righteousness, then who would be the King of Righteousness?
Most
Who
High,
do we get righteousness from?
Most
Yeah.
High.
Yes. So, Michael, it's almost 3:30. Does everybody need a break?
It's a good time for a break. How about you guys?
Sure.
That's fine.
Okay, let's meet back in about an hour.
Okay.